you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
No.
I thought not. It's not a story the Jedi would tell you.
Alright, what is going on, guys? It's Tazz here, and for the first time in quite a while, welcome back to the channel. With the conclusion of the latest Star Wars Disney Plus series in The Acolyte, and its, well, let's just say mixed reception by fans and critics alike, I thought this was the opportunity I've been waiting for to jump back into the YouTube space. So what I wanted to do with this video was give you guys a brief recap of the first season of The Acolyte, jump into full spoilers on everything that went down in the finale and theories for the future, as well as my take on what has been seemingly the most controversial Star Wars thing since the previous most controversial Star Wars thing. So with that said, let's just jump straight into my spoiler-free thoughts on Season 1 of The Acolyte. Star Wars The Acolyte, set roughly 100 years before the events of The Phantom Menace, drops us into the High Republic era, where the Jedi seem to be flourishing as the keepers of peace across the galaxy. We are introduced to our twin leads, Osha and May, as well as Jedi Master Soul and a mysterious masked red lightsaber-wielding villain. The audience gets a sense that there's more to the story. May is on a revenge quest against the Jedi who are responsible for the destruction of her village, a coven of space witches with some dark side tendencies. Master Soul recruits the help of his former Padawan, Osha, to help put a stop to her sister's reign of evil, but also to try and continue to cover up what really happened that fateful night 16 years ago. So at its core, The Acolyte is a Star Wars mystery where we are receiving more and more pieces to the puzzle as the show progresses. While I do feel like, especially early on, the series can be a bit of a slow burn, and the placement of the exposition-heavy flashback episodes were not always the best, as a complete package, I still did really enjoy my time with The Acolyte. I know I don't have the popular opinion, and that's okay. I recognize all of the canon-breaking, Force birth before Anakin, the Kiadi Mundi retcon of it all, and a laundry list of other things.
Impossible. The Sith have been extinct for a millennium.
Yes, sometimes it's contrived. Yes, half the time it feels like the CW Star Wars, and it's super predictable. However, I still did really enjoy sitting down and watching week to week, seeing the reactions online after the episodes, watching Star Wars Theory's watch party to see what he and his chat thought of the episode, and so much more. For the record, I do love Star Wars Theory and respect his takes. Anyone who doesn't love the show is also completely valid. I'm just putting my hat in the ring of the unpopular opinion and saying The Acolyte is actually pretty good. So if you have not seen the series yet and you are in any way interested in Star Wars, I heavily urge you to go and watch the show for yourself, develop your own opinion detached from what the vocal online community might be telling you. But with my spoiler-free thoughts out of the way, let's force jump ourselves right into the full spoiler and finale talk. A big theme of the series seems to be from a certain point of view, and how the Jedi are not necessarily always in the right. It's exactly what Anakin eventually saw and the weakness Palpatine exploited in the prequels. The Jedi are always acting so high and mighty, caught up in their own hubris, blinded by anything around them that would show fault in their way of life. Martian Manhunter pointed it out perfectly in the finale, and was further emphasized by the fact that the Jedi just cannot fathom the concept of the return of the Sith until it is too late. Leading up into the finale, the mystery of who is behind the Smilo Ren mask is revealed as none other than Manny Jacinto's Camille, who earlier had been presented as a shady merchant and accomplice of May, who was secretly undercover bossing her the entire time. Definitely not the most shocking reveal, however, the execution of it was top-notch. Not only did we get a pretty stellar fight scene between Darth Teeth and a handful of Jedi, but he literally killed them all. Every single one of them. But not just the men. Sorry. After the big reveal, May and Osha end up swapping places, and this is where May gets Sol to admit his wrongdoings when the Jedi originally found them as children, while Camille, well, let's just say seduced Osha to the dark side with his fancy lightsaber and dope helmet, which leads us into the finale. Right from the jump, the finale was the best episode of the season, followed pretty closely by episode 5, which was just one long epic fight scene. It kicks off right where the penultimate episode left us, as Osha tries on Camille's cortosis sensory deprivation Smilo Ren mask. Immediately, Osha is enveloped by darkness and is brought back to reality by a seemingly quite worried Camille. Elsewhere, Sol brings May in orbit above her home planet, bringing us back to where it all started, which leads way to a small but visually beautiful chase that brings them face to face with their past on the surface of the planet Brendok. Back on Sith Island, Osha, complete with some more dark side looking robes, along with the Darth arms, prepared to head back to the twins' home planet as well. Osha is led to believe that she has the upper hand, however, all of this is playing right into Camille's dark side games. What has he been saying this whole season? He needs someone to mentor, someone to show his way to, a pupil, an acolyte. Always two there are, a master and an apprentice, no more, no less. Well, now there is more, because as Osha and Camille fly away from Not Ahch-To, we see a large, skeletal-looking figure complete with glowing yellow eyes and a spooky robe watching their departure. And it seems like the general consensus is this is none other than Darth freaking Plagueis. Mind officially blown, the Acolyte cooked. You ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Obviously set up for Season 2, but it seems like Camille is not the top Sith, and he in fact does answer to who will eventually become Palpatine's master. Jump to Osha and May's village, we get some reminiscence of the past as well as the two big confrontations of the episode. The Camille versus Sol duel was honestly pretty epic, lots of very cool visuals, great fight choreography, and the fact that it ends with a classic samurai slash, perfection. The May versus Osha fight was a little less eventful, just a lot of hand-to-hand combat with a sprinkle of the Force. During the duel between Sol and Darth Doubleblade, May tells Osha that her master has been keeping the truth from her. Eventually, the duels lead everyone to the courtyard where Sol's fateful act took place. He is forced to tell Osha the truth. Sol did in fact kill her mother that night, and he has been hiding it for the last 16 years. This completely sets Osha off, sending her down a much darker path, fulfilling Chimera's wish to, quote, kill a Jedi without a weapon. Holding Sol's damaged lightsaber in one hand, Osha channels the Force through the other, executing quite possibly the first ever Force choke in the Star Wars timeline, sadly killing Master Sol. At the same time, all of the fear, anger, hate, and suffering flows through Osha and into Sol's Kyber crystal, bleeding it in real time, which was probably the coolest visual from the entire season. So it's official, Osha has given herself to the dark side and killed her old master in the most emotional way possible. But there's no time to sit around as the Jedi Council have caught up. This is where we get confirmation that Vernestra is seemingly Kamir's former master, and bro definitely seems kind of scared of her, definitely something to be further explored in Season 2. As the Jedi move into the village and find a deceased Master Soul, May, Osha, and Kamir escape to the safety tree. However, in order to throw off the Jedi, a sacrifice has to be made. May finally lets Osha go to fulfill her destiny as Kamir's Acolyte, as she chooses to stay behind with her mind wiped for the Jedi to find and throw them off the trail of darkness. Such an emotional departure, however, that brings me to one of my big theories for Season 2. The fact that the twins were created through the Force and are not actually two separate beings, but one split into two. I feel like we might get a combination of May and Osha eventually, or somehow May's memories could live inside of Osha and they can be transferred back. Diving further into the combination of the twins, it would make sense as originally Osha was the representation of the light and May the dark side. Now obviously those roles are reversed, but the theory still stands. Combining the two of them would create one balanced being, harnessing both the light and dark side, a gray Jedi if you will. As the episode concludes, we get to touch base with all sides of the spectrum. Master Vernestra continues the theme of the Jedi covering up what they don't want the public to know by leaving her former Padawan turned Sith out of the story and blaming the whole thing on Master Soul. However, it does seem that she has a plan and is going to use May to see it through to the end. That is, after she has to answer to Master Yoda. Much to discuss we have indeed. Boom, crazy Yoda in his prime. Hopefully we'll get to see tons more of him in Season 2. Finishing things off with the latest Sith ship that I'm honestly a fan of, Kamir and Osha land back on the island planet, solidifying their connection and the continuation of training as they both hold Soul's Bled Blade and look off into the sunset in the distance. End of season, and what a season it was. Overall, guys, I know this show has had a less than stellar reception, but as a whole, I actually really enjoyed it. No, I'm not giving the show a pass for breaking canon at points, being somewhat lazily written and contrived in certain other areas, and straying from what fans would come to expect from a Star Wars project. But looking past some of the show's flaws and viewing it as a finished product, I can confidently say that I did enjoy my time with The Acolyte. I watched every episode the night it came out, followed by falling asleep listening to Star Wars Theory's watch party and post-episode thoughts. This show is honestly kind of important to me on a personal level as well, as this was the first Star Wars project that I was able to watch live as it came out with my girlfriend, whom I just recently got into Star Wars over the past year, so it's certainly special to us on that level as well. I know not everyone loved the show, and that is totally okay. You aren't meant to love everything just because they slap the Star Wars brand on it. But that is no reason to attack the actors or creators behind the project who poured tons of hard work and passion into it. So if you didn't like the show, that's okay. Give the creators constructive feedback. If you loved the show, that's great as well. Tell the creators what you loved and want more of. Or if you are like me, someone who has their issues, can poke fun at those issues, but also give constructive criticism and praise in the same breath, do that as well. So I am definitely going to give them high praise for a job well done, as everyone was super enjoyable to watch on screen. Standouts were Kamir and Sol, with a close third being the double role of May and Osha. Going into Season 2, I expect to see much more exploration of the dark side with Kamir and Osha, as well as hopefully Darth Plagueis. I expect to learn what Plagueis' connection is to Kamir, and if he is the true master in this equation, or if he's just another dark side user lurking in the shadows, picking up on some information for future use, i.e. using the Force to create life. All we do know is that the rule of two exists, and this power duo may not be in Plagueis' cards for the future. On the Jedi side of things, Vernestra will probably manipulate May into being her new apprentice and use her to go after Kamir and Osha, all the while hiding what is truly going on from Yoda and the rest of the Jedi Council. I do really hope to see more of the quality of storytelling that we got in episodes 5 and 8 carry in to next season as well. But with that said, guys, I want to know what you thought of the Acolyte Season 1 down there in the comments below. What was your favorite episode of the season, which characters stood out to you, and what theories do you have going into Season 2? And no, don't say a deeper explanation of why Ki-Adi-Mundi exists before he's supposed to, just let that be. Just let me know your thoughts on all of this down there in the comments below. But until next time, guys, it's been Tazz. It's so good to be back, and I will see you guys in the next video.
Do it.